You can usually tell by the list of demands made by propagandist outlets like Media Matters for America what kind of changes are coming our way. You might ask yourself on a long day, why is it that these tech companies are so willing to bend the knee to any journalist with a chip on their shoulder? Well, as we have seen recently through James O'Keefe and Project Veritas' groundbreaking videos, there are people behind the scenes that are manipulating things against the will of the people. These companies do not align with the values of the nation that they claim to represent, seemingly eager to use their corporate influence to crush the voice of the working man. You've likely heard the private business argument time and time again, which is invoked every time a wave of censorship hits the internet. First and foremost, these companies have taken public tax dollars to grow their companies, so no, they are not private businesses. And second, YouTube, Facebook, and a few others like them are the modern-day equivalent to the public square. To remove somebody from a platform is to completely unperson them. The rules are not made clear in any way, and anyone at any time can be found in violation of the sacred terms of service. The idea that these people are so dependent on corporate interest that they shill for them is absurd. It takes quite the childish person to demand that outlets remove things they don't like and hide behind the rules that they and everyone else knows are selectively enforced. Reddit is the best example of a tech company relentlessly enforcing its policies one way. A few years ago, there was a large purge from a lot of these alternative news subreddits. Take, for example, Uncensored News, which contained news stories that were removed from the default news subforums, like R News and R Politics. These forums work as places to advertise political careers, promote videos that promote an approved agenda, convince people to go out and watch that movie that everyone randomly started talking about recently, and etc. Basically, the forums act as a means for politicians and corporations to sell you stuff, including ideas that are completely one-sided. The default subs, which all new users are automatically subscribed to, are filled with people who are pompous and arrogant to the point of absolute delusion. The Redditor is a special kind of person. Yesterday, literal hours before the Democratic nominee debate, the first one at least, Reddit decided to quarantine the Donald Trump fan subreddit, r/the_Donald, which has a large and active user base. It's obvious to most what they're doing here. By alienating this community, they are able to steer the popular conversation clear from anyone with anything different than what Reddit and their masters want to be said. This is yet another attempt to make it appear as though the average person supports the mindless stuff we saw last night on the debate. I mentioned this in the previous video, but MSNBC also went on a copyright takedown spree, going after anyone live streaming a debate that is meant for the people to make informed political decisions. This is, what do they say? This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. A bit of irony there for you. These things might seem small, but I can guarantee there is much more going on than most of us are aware of. And they've been actively engaging in activities like this since at least 2016, likely well before that. Losing the election really got to them, though, and now they're doing everything dirty they can think of in order to win this upcoming election. This includes controlling truth itself under the guise of protecting the people. Google and their cohorts want us to see only the world that they provide for us. YouTube even took down James O'Keefe's video about their corruption, a privacy complaint. The irony there. This whole world is filled with way too much irony these days. The people that are telling Congress, well, no one has any privacy. That was Facebook, but I would be surprised if YouTube doesn't invoke that argument soon. Well, if people don't have privacy, how can we have a privacy complaint, right? But there you have it. An employee from Google had the video shut down because it invaded their privacy. Man, must be nice to have that sort of power. Some of you might be familiar with the eunuch at CNN, Brian Stelter, a man who looks like a visual representation of Megan's Law. No, you're not looking at a person cosplaying as Majin Buu. This is a 33-year-old boomer that apparently failed upwards in life. Brian felt it was necessary to share with us peasants how high-class individuals like himself conduct real journalism, not that stuff that James O'Keefe does. When Brian Stelter from reliable sources, I never get tired of the cheap laugh I get from the name of that man's show. When Brian conducts journalism on an anti-Google story, he opens up Google, types fact check Google James O'Keefe, and booyah, journalism. Move over, Seymour Hersh. There's a new journalist in town, one of the finest anybody's ever seen. Well, don't lay your eyes on him, though. He's not that fine to look at. You've got to be exceptional to think that Google would bring up news that portrays them negatively, especially when you consider all that they're doing for the Chinese government against their citizens. Stelter, Maddow, Lemon, Chomo, Vanderbilt, they are all shills for foreign nationals that seek to exploit populations by pitting them against one another. All the while, they continue to remind us all that they are the better people and we should do things their way. Nothing in this world is further from the truth. These outlets will attempt to remove satire from the internet, pretending as if humor itself is impossible to recognize. They pretend as if people cannot tell the difference as an excuse to shut it down. Remember that video of Nancy Pelosi? They do not want people in power to be mocked. Here, Time Magazine is letting us know that this video Trump tweeted out, joking about being president for the next few hundred years, was manipulated. Manipulated, they say, implying that people are being misled. Look, we all know Trump isn't going to be president in the year 2500. It speaks volumes of what they think of us, but even more of what they think of themselves.